So we come to the last and final panel, and thank you so much for being so patient with us today. Before that, we have a social event that I will not announce right now. I will announce at the very end of this conference. So thank you so much for your patience. But please bear with us because it's a very important event and we would like to see all of you there. Ladies and gentlemen, let's welcome our last panel today. Our final panel of the day is titled Yemeni Youth Engagement Amidst the Conflict, organized by the Washington Center for Yemeni Studies. This session will focus on Yemeni American youth achievements, moderated by Husam, the Government Affairs Manager at the WCYS. Thank you so much. Please, you're welcome.
Good evening. Thank you all for staying here. My name is Husam. I am, as Amr introduced me, the Government Affairs Manager at the Washington Center for Yemeni Studies. And I'll keep this short and get to the point. The reason we are hosting this panel is because we at the Washington Center believe in the philosophy of being the change that we want to see in the world. Therefore, we wanted to display the necessity of engaging the youth and emphasize that the youth are bearing the brunt of the war. And the youth are the ones who are capable of changing the reality on the ground. Especially given that the largest portion of the Yemeni population is under the age of 30. And as Yemeni youth, and as Yemeni American youth specifically, who enjoy the freedoms that this country has to offer, we appreciate that with great freedom comes great responsibility. And by default, with great responsibility comes great responsibility. Thank you, thank you. Just by mere observation from today's panelists and just the Yemeni political arena over the years, nobody seems to be more apologetic and more sugarcoating when discussing the situation in Yemen than Yemenis themselves, unfortunately. And given that we just celebrated the 1962 revolution, it is only right that we mention and draw from the similarities from the situation that we're facing today. Had our grandparents who fought to end the theocratic monarchy gave in during the 70-day siege. The 70-day siege, I repeat that. The 70-day siege that changed the course of the revolution of 1962, that without the victory and the insistence of the Yemeni revolutionaries, Yemen would have never become a republic. We were facing the same efforts of de factoization. When Lajnat al-Salam al-Arabi, the Arab peace delegation, came and wanted to pressure the revolutionaries, the Republicans, to give in to the royalists who were backed by some of the same powers who were backing the Republicans today. But they insisted and they persevered and they broke the siege. Despite the odds being against them, it was literally 4,000 Yemenis against 40,000 royalists. And still we persisted. I will go back to some of what was mentioned during the discussion. For example, when the U.S. envoy to Yemen, Mr. Timothy Linder King, that Al-Qaeda is on the margins from our point of view. And when he said our, he was speaking of the United States. That seems to be the clear agenda or the clear position of the United States and the international community, while totally ignoring the fact that the Houthis are on the margins from our point of view as Yemenis. We also, the majority of the discussion discussed the truce and the possibilities for renewal. And the ambassador, Mohamed al-Hadrami, mentioned in the morning that The lone party given concessions in delivering on their commitments to the truce is the legitimate government. And we know from world history that nobody ever gives up power willingly. And we have learned that from the first truce with the Houthis, the second truce with the Houthis, the third truce with the Houthis, the fourth truce with the Houthis, and I promise you there were more than that, between 2004 and 2010. And without the proper mechanisms for pressure, how are we expecting the current truce to succeed or to give us fruitful results, given that the Houthis are much more powerful than they could have ever dreamed of back between 2004 and 2010. So now I will boil it down and bring it back to the modern day and what is going on. It is not right to bring it to the youth and to the Yemeni youth without mentioning what is happening in Iran with the uprisings following the killing of Mahsa Amini, and drawing the similarities with what is happening right now in Yemen with the graduates club at the Sana'a University and the different universities that are actively erasing or stopping the Yemenis from celebrating their graduations normally. And they're going as far as scratching the pictures of Yemeni alumni, Yemeni women alumni from the university records, even the ones who are fully veiled. Literally, even the ones who are wearing the burqa, because it goes against the Yemeni traditions and religious identity. And from that, I will bring it back to the youth who will, and the de factoism that is being forced upon the Yemenis. And I will introduce my colleague, Amal, the co-founder of Bridges for Yemen, and the research assistant at the Yale Law School Schell Center for International Human Rights. She is very humble, but she's also the first Yemeni at Yale, the first Yemeni female graduate from the Yale University in all of its 300 years history. The other panelist we have is Mohamed bin Hamdain. He is the chairperson of Adalah Foundation and the founder of Yemen's first model United Nations. And he's also a former researcher at the Integrity Vice Presidency and the World Bank Group. I'm stuttering. To draw more relevancy, in 2019, Mohamed proposed to the governor of Hadramaut the establishment of a deputy governor's position for women's affairs, and that a woman be appointed as a deputy governor for this role. That was in 2019. Happy news, to get from the gloomy beginning that I started with, the governor actually accepted his proposal and submitted it to President Hadi, who then issued a resolution. And this was the first time that Yemen had a female deputy governor in its history. I will start by posing this question to the founder of Bridges for Yemen, Amal Altareb. What motivates you to do the work that you do, and why is it important from your perspective to involve the youth?
Thank you, Husam. First, I just want to say that Husam is also the co-founder, so he's just wearing his other hat right now in disguise. And I also want to mention my friend Nadine and Najjar, who also graduated from Yale. I can't take the spotlight too much. First, I want to start by thanking the Washington Center for giving us the platform that we very much need. Even if it's at the end of the day, it's okay. I'm glad that you guys are still here. And second, I want to recognize all the other youth who are doing much more important work than we are right now, and who are not on this stage, but somehow for convenience, we became the representatives. So I just wanted to start by that. Following on what Ibrahim Ayash was saying on the power of stories, just to answer your question, Husam, on what motivated me personally to do this work, so I'll say my story. Just a little bit. So I was born in California, actually, but I lived in Yemen all of my childhood, and I moved to the U.S. in 2012. And honestly, I would say probably the first moment that I was aware of the power of youth was definitely the 2011 Arab Spring Revolution. I mean, I was a 10-year-old. I think that's a theme that we see in a lot of the speakers and even amongst us and a lot of young people, that the revolution really, even if people now say that it's failed, it didn't. It only planted many, many seeds for in the future and right now in the present. But anyways, I just remember as a 10-year-old, even though as a girl and people were worried that I can't join the streets, we still memorized all the songs and all the chants. To this day, I memorize them. Sometimes I review them and recite them. But yeah, I think now looking back, really the revolution was planting those seeds of, yes, youth do have power. Yes, we can demand and we can say, we can depose a dictator. And we can demand for democracy and human rights. And then coming here to the States and growing up in Memphis, Tennessee. Yes, Memphis, Tennessee. Any people from Tennessee? Wow. So, yeah, actually, I think growing up in Memphis, Tennessee and walking by the National Civil Rights Museum where Dr. Martin Luther King was assassinated, was also kind of the perfect ground for me that planted and that watered the seed that was planted. Throughout school, I had very amazing mentors who made me believe that I was an upstander, not just for Yemen, but for human rights and for civil rights in the U.S. as well. And I think honestly, the first spark was in 2017 during the Women's March against Trump's Muslim ban and his wall and everything that he proposed. And I remember because it touched me, and it was the first time that I truly felt so close to politics. I remember crying to my mentor and to my teacher, and I was like, will we be kicked out? I was a 16-year-old, but I really, really believed, I think as many of us were worried about the Muslim ban, even though I was a full American in the sense that I was also born here. But I think going to that protest and chanting from the depths of my, from, really saying I belong and saying I demand equality, kind of ignited and empowered me to really believe that, yes, we do have a voice in a democracy. That's how it's supposed to be. And that's how it also is supposed to be in Yemen. So fast forward to, I guess, in a way, I went through a similar process as many young people in Yemen, but it's just in different contexts, added in some, American flavor and learning about Malcolm X and Dr. Martin Luther King and the issues here in the U.S. But then I met Husam and many other amazing young people in New York, and we started Bridges for Yemen. In 2021, actually 10 years after the revolution, the Arab Spring. And the idea was simple. We want to revive the hopes and to continue, hopefully, in whatever way that we could, even across the ocean, what the revolutionaries started. And like Husam said, even the revolutionaries are ancestors before of ideals of democracy and human rights. So our purpose was simple. Can we be the bridge between Yemen and the U.S.? Can we ensure that young people, Yemeni Americans, and everyone around us actually understand the situation fully in Yemen? And can we ensure also, like Dr. Debbie said and Ibrahim, can we ensure that they know of their power as citizens of the U.S. That they have? So we focused our first kind of works and campaigns were actually to also serve as bridges to those most marginalized in Yemen. I think a lot of people, when they talk about Yemen, like Ibrahim said and many others, they talk about the numbers and the famine, and which is all very important. But I think we do often ignore those most marginalized. I was talking to actually Adalah here, a filmmaker, and she worked on a movie, Adalah, shout out to you, movie for Yemenis who are disabled. But our first campaigns were actually about the Oromo refugees and migrants who were burnt alive, Allah yarhamhum la hawla wa la quwwata illa billah, in the Houthi detention center. There was, even from the Yemeni activists, there was little to no attention to that. Still, there's no justice to this day, but I mention it right now, and I take your time to as a way of raising awareness and turning your heads toward what happened. We also we did a teach-in and wanted to let people know about the Muhammashin, who are literally called the marginalized in Yemen. So I want to say that there are, us as Yemenis, we often think of ourselves as marginalized, but there are indeed, we should just look around and see who else is more marginalized than us and how can we truly advocate for everyone in Yemen. And then some other things that we did were protests in New York. And I want to say this, and maybe some of you might not like it, but this is the point, is I'm a young person and I will say it and no one can say anything. We organized protests and we called, and I will say the chant specifically, we said, I want you guys to chant with me. I'm just kidding. Houthi, Saudi, UAE, whoever you may be, stop killing Yemenis. Shakhbos is saying it with me right now. So Houthi, Saudi, UAE, whoever you may be, stop killing Yemenis. And that's exactly where we stand as Bridges for Yemen. We have no, and I think as young people in general, we have no loyalty. We're not politicized yet. We're not paid by any country. And we truly care about Yemen, and we truly care about Yemenis. And that's kind of one of the main, I think you said, Husam, why is it important to engage youth? That's it, because you have genuine people who are doing advocacy for the love of their country. So yes, as I said, why is it important? You know, genuine people doing advocacy, I hope. We just need some guidance sometimes and some organizing, like Dr. Debbie said. And to ensure that our ideals are at least kept alive, ideals of democracy and human rights.
Same question?
Okay. I don't have the mic, but I think I'm loud enough. So Mohamed will be answering the same question, which again asks, what motivated you to do this work, and why do you think it's important to involve the youth?
Okay, so thank you so much, Husam. But first of all, let me express my thanks to the Washington Center for Yemeni Studies and its partner for organizing this meaningful conference, which bringing a deep understanding of the Yemeni crisis and offering effective solution to the problem and issues that our country have been facing today. And related to your question, I think it's like a lot of question, but I hope that my notes can answer about them. Actually, I'm not like Amal. I was born in Yemen, and also I grew up there. And in 2011, during the revolution in Yemen, I graduated from Mukalla Modern School, which is one of the most competitive school in Yemen. And after that, I received a scholarship from Saudi Arabia to continue my undergrad studies in King Saud University in Riyadh. And it's my first time actually to be out of the country or to be abroad. It's really different place for me, different situation. It's not like my country. And at that time, I saw how the people there just follow the rule. And really, as a person who come from a family whose core belief is service to the community, I always believe that Yemen can come if each of us show, let us say some grade of national responsibility to convey or to deliver the knowledge and the experience that we earned from the place that we are, and transfer that to the country back home, and how we can make the people benefit from this experience. So from that time, when I see all the people in Saudi Arabia, the immigrants there or the Saudis follow the rules, I came with idea to establish a foundation to like increase the awareness of like Yemeni people. And this foundation, I named it like Adalah Foundation. I started like from scratch. I remember that when I go to like find some funding for the foundation, and no one actually accept my idea, and like all of them told me this is like not gonna succeed, and like just go to find other project that's good for you. But I really emphasize that this is what our society need now, and if also Husam like allow me to take to take you back to the role that the Yemeni youth have played in our recent history, and here I am referring to the 2011. We will see like in the 2011 during the revolution, which officially named it's Youth Revolution of Change. So from its name, it's obvious to understand that what the youth wants, it's recognition, and that is still missing. So I started with that like idea how we can train youth and like push them to lead the governmental institution. And not only that, I believe all of us like know that after the National Dialogue Conference, youth were promised inclusion in all governmental institutions. Youth, like and other independent, were like played crucial in pushing for recommendation promoting equal citizenship for men and women, for men and women in decision adopted, such as 30% participation of women and 20% participation for men. But that is never happened, and still youth have played a critical role during the current civil war. And for example, like in the humanitarian assistance, in leadership development programs, and also in the advocacy campaign. And regardless all of that, the youth and this power is still missing. But really my point today, it's not just looking back to the back, but looking forward. A critical problem now, we really, I see it it's as a nation, we are actually the fact that many youth today are looking for the way to leave the country and just look for the opportunity outside of Yemen, because they have felt out that the opportunity of participating in the government affairs is missing, and they are ignored. And I don't know how we can help them to do that. I think we are responsible to find opportunity for them inside the country, or influence, or do much pressure to the government and to the international society to find a space for youth. As some people said that but there are some opportunity already given by it. The opportunity that I have know that is given to the youth, it's to join to the military camps. And this is, I think, the only place are open for the youth, and they are highly encouraged to enter to the military. But the other non-military sector and position have not materialized or opened for them yet. So I believe that war is not fought only by weapons. Political war is also a type of war, and can at a time be more effective than the military war itself. So what I want to say here, that there is an important and necessary to consider youth and consensual partners constitutional partners that can be effectively bumped into the political life in Yemen during and after the peace agreement for several reasons. Youth are the future of the country, so fresh blood is immediately needed. Nevertheless, youth feel powerless to participate in an influence decision and laws that regulate to the exercise their rights in political lives. And the second, youth represent the largest segment of the society, and therefore we are best able to reflect and also to represent the demands of this segment. So, which is usually mineralized and exploited as well. So this is, I think, like what motivated me to play this role and to establish the Adalah Foundation, which is like came with the idea in 2020, which like I think Husam, like you mentioned the MUN. So it's like we came with the idea that how we can assemble youth from all provinces of Yemen, because we see that there are unrecognized borders that have been raising between youth themselves because of the legitimate and illegitimate government in the like areas that they control. So we came with this idea, and we like worked hard to assemble youth from all provinces of Yemen, and we achieved that. The good things also in this programs that we achieved the goal 5 of sustainable development, which is like related to the gender parity, because this program is contains 50-50 gender parity, which is means like 50% of the participants are women. And not only that, but also we made accommodation for people with disabilities. So this is like what the think of youth and how we can see how like we want to see our country in the future. So that.
Thank you. So in a time where we're encouraging youth engagement, it is the youth are ripe and ready for recruitment, and we see that they are a fresh soil to plant seeds in. And one of the questions that we received, that the youth engagement or the attempt to youth engagement can be a positive or a negative thing, and it can be weaponized, like how the Houthis are taking advantage of the youth abroad who are easily sympathetic to their cause. And the question says, how can we counter, or the meaning of the question mentions, how can we counter the positions that are being created on a domestic level, for example, from U.S. representatives backed by liberal Democrats, sympathizing with groups that would literally take their lives away if they were practicing these same practices in Yemen? This question is directed to Amal, and the next question will be directed to Mohamed. You have a mic.
Thanks, Husam, and whoever asked that question. I just want to add one more point. I just want to add just one point and say, give shout out to Mohamed and the work that a lot of Yemenis and Yemeni youth do inside Yemen. And I want to say, like, my message to you, Mohamed, and to the rest of the youth in Yemen is that you do have, you know, a support system outside of Yemen who will inshallah be complement your work in any way and help you in any way that we can. But you are doing the real work, and you are challenging, you are facing the main challenges. So to answer the question, I think instead of wasting our time trying to countering positions, I think within the U.S. there is specific politics, and some people, no matter they have specific agendas and specific views of the countries that are involved in Yemen and the different sides in Yemen. So I think instead of wasting our time trying to counter the positions or counter the existent efforts, let's just do our own work. Like Dr. Debbie said, and like Ibrahim said, and many others, let's invest time in actually getting organized and getting informed of the whole picture, and figuring out the plan to get what we want, which is, at the end of the day, the interests of Yemen, of human rights and democracy. Yeah.
And if I'm not mistaken, these are the efforts that the Bridges for Yemen is trying to achieve by bringing or embodying the chant that she mentioned. We're not taking any sides. We're not going to allow anybody violate the rights or the lives of Yemen without being held accountable, because again, the youth are not held by the same restrictions that the different parties to the conflict or the governments are being held to because of the realities and the alliances that they are forced into. The second question that we will end this panel with is directed to Mohamed, and it is, what would you and what would the youth of Yemen need from the community to support and make their campaigns or their initiatives, such as Adalah, such as the Model United Nations, which, by the way, is a very special initiative in the sense that it brought Yemenis from all over the different governorates in a time where the social fabric of Yemen is being ripped apart, and it used a historical site to host them, to have a Model United Nations, and also this most recently this year, a Model Arab League. And these initiatives are usually seen by others as like, these are unnecessary at the time. We can have them after we end the conflict. But the reality, the truth of the matter is, if the youth are not being brought into these types of initiatives, the other alternative or the most convenient and unfortunately the initiatives that give them financial backing and lucrative offers is being recruited by the different parties to the conflict. So it is very important to keep them busy with such initiatives, and I will give you the mic to answer the questions. What do you need from the community to ensure that such initiatives are successful?
Thank you so much, Husam. As you said, actually, we really work hard to protect youth from the influences of extremism that have been taking place in the country, and we also work to prepare them to be the next leader of a new Yemen. In addition to what you said, and then I will come for what maybe I need. So I think the youth in Yemen, really wants like this initiative because they don't have more opportunity. And that's why when we established this initiative, we just specialized them for the people who live inside Yemen. And when some people contacted us and they want to join to these programs, we actually apologized and we told them we are so sorry, we cannot accept anyone who live abroad. These people inside Yemen are in need of these programs, because if they don't find, and if there is a difficult competition for these programs, they may go to the other place, or they may be someone can use them in bad things. As you know, our country that many things that they can use youth with. I have before I can ask my needs from you. I have 2 videos of these programs that we implemented in Yemen, and just I want you to see how the capability of the youth and how they achieved this modeling in Yemen in a proficient ways. And really, I would also take this opportunity to thank our partner, Mr. Dr. John Anthony, in the National Council on U.S. Arab Relations, who is actually helped us in implementing the Model Arab League in Yemen. So thank you so much, Dr. Anthony. So,
video. The video.
I will show them the video, and then I will give you the mic. Okay.
أرحب بكم جميعا في الاجتماع الوزاري المتزامن مع القمة الأولى لنموذج محاكاة جامعة الدول العربية.
توفير الحماية للشعب الفلسطيني الأعزل والدفع باتجاه تحقيق السلام العادل والشامل والدائم الذي يمكن من إقامة الدولة الفلسطينية المستقلة
وأن تحقيق الاستقرار في المنطقة لتحقق قانون إيجاد حل عادل ودائم لقضية فلسطين وفقا لقرارات الشرعية الدولية.
Thank you. And congratulations on establishing your muassasat and Makalla and with the Model United Nations and the Model Arab League. What are the goals of this particular program? And for those of you who have children of secondary school or university age here, and or are going back yourself, or you have relatives in Yemen who may not know about this, what are the benefits? What will they gain from this? They will gain the following skills that are necessary for anyone to be an effective leader amongst one's peers or one's elders or one's juniors there. They are the following. Three in particular have to do with communications over a 1, 2, or 3 day period to teach and to practice how to speak clearly, rapidly, and effectively. If you can't do that, no nafud, mafiq, kuwa. To write clearly, rapidly, and effectively. And to edit your own work and the work of others and have them edit your work clearly, rapidly, and effectively, all under atrocious deadlines. Throughout the day here, people have been working under deadlines. Many think, I need 20 minutes, I need 20 minutes. No, but the chairperson said, no, you have 8. 8, and I'll cut you off there. And this makes you look unprofessional, ineffective, without influence. So under these deadlines. Fourth is how to learn how to draft resolutions. You can't just raise your hand and say, I favor this, I want this, etc. There are rules of engagement here that are respectable, and you have to learn how to make The language is simple, it seems, but the sequence of presenting your ideas and the prioritization of presenting your ideas and the forcefulness of presenting your ideas and the words and the concepts behind presenting your ideas and the strategic objectives. This does not come by accident or by coincidence. You have to learn them, you have to practice them, okay? And this is not getting academic grades, this is getting life grades and keeping the bar high. Not lowering it, but you rising up to a higher bar there. And to realize you cannot achieve much alone. Being alone abroad or even nationally is not a desirable place to be if you really want to achieve great things there. You have to understand who else might think the way I think or doesn't think the way I think. But if I can persuade them, that's one I've got on my side. I've doubled my strength already. And maybe the two of us can get a third and a fourth and a fifth and a sixth. So if you're working in the Model Arab League and you're having 22, because there are 22 members, 22 delegations there, and you as a Yemeni, how are you going to get another 11 to side with you? It's not going to be just any 11. Not going to be necessarily the Comoros Islands or Mauritania or Somalia. Which 11? So you have to do your research. You have to persuade them. And when you're trying to persuade them, they're saying, you want something from me, do you? Well, how nice. Well, I'd like something from you. So can we have a deal? Can we talk? Can we negotiate? I'll do something for you, you do something for me. So these are skills that are being taught as well. To build a coalition, without which you won't get anywhere. You can be so articulate, so knowledgeable, so understanding, so persuasive, so convincing, but if you do not have a requisite number of 11 others with you, and which 11, you won't get anywhere. So these are the skills that are taught. Would that all of us learn these things when we were growing up? How much more effective and successful and influential in a positive, idealistic, humanistic way we would be if we had these skills ourselves at an earlier age. So some of us are not as young as we used to be. Some of us are older than we once were. Some days it's hard to determine which is which. But it's not too late to train your nieces and your nephews, to introduce them to this. Those here and those, we have 50,000 graduates of this one program. 50,000 of them. They're everywhere in the United States and in the Arab world. You can do it. We can do it. But we have to do it through cooperation, through getting in touch with each other. And we'll help you, and our friends here will help you. We can build this bridge of more effective leaders and influential people who will make a defining and enduring, positive, idealistic, humanistic differences in the lives of those with us and those yet to come. You're doing a great job, and congratulations on being a pioneer and path-breaking.
And with that, I will end with a combination of Dr. Duke's and Ibrahim Ayash words. No one is going to fight for Yemen quickly, rapidly, and effectively as Yemeni American will. Thank you so much.